I still remember the summer day, 6 years ago, when I sat on my porch staring out at the garden that my late husband and I had tended for decades. The roses were in bloom, a vibrant reminder of the life and love we once shared. Yet instead of feeling comforted, I felt a hollow ache in my chest. At 74, I realized that my closest companions were now the memories tucked away in my photo albums. Friends had moved, family lived far off, and meaningful relationships felt like a thing of the past. It was a sobering moment, one that made me question whether genuine connection after 70 was just a nice idea, a fading dream rather than a tangible reality. That moment on the porch was the beginning of a quest I never knew I needed. I started to notice how many of my peers struggled with the same loneliness. Some brushed it aside, believing it was simply part of growing older. Others tried to reach out, only to be met with polite but distant responses. Over time, they'd withdraw even further, convinced that deep friendships or strong family ties were no longer in reach. It broke my heart because I saw how easily that sense of isolation could creep in and take over, diminishing not just one's happiness, but also one's sense of purpose. There's a hidden cost to letting these relationships slip away or to believing the idea that it's too late to form meaningful bonds. I've seen seniors lose their zest for life because they no longer have someone they feel truly connected to, someone who understands their stories, their regrets, and their hopes. Without that sense of belonging, the days can become a repetitive blur, and the spark that once illuminated our later years dims into a faint glow. But here's the good news. That hollow feeling doesn't have to be the final word. I invite you to stick around, because we'll be diving into 5 powerful insights that completely shifted the way I approach relationships in my 70s and beyond. By the end of this journey, you'll have a renewed sense of hope and, more importantly, practical steps you can start taking right now. The last point we'll discuss is a real eye-opener, one that almost no one talks about, but that can make all the difference in how you nurture and maintain the most important connections in your life. Imagine waking up each day with the excitement of a new conversation, a new moment of genuine closeness, and the joy of feeling truly seen for who you are. Now, you might be wondering who I am to share all this. Well, after decades of observing seniors, reading about longevity, and speaking with older adults who've successfully built thriving relationships, I've picked up a few priceless lessons. I've also had the privilege of hearing from medical professionals, counselors, and elder care experts, all pointing to one simple truth. The quality of our relationships affects our overall well-being more than we might ever suspect. It's not just my opinion. Specialists and researchers alike have noticed that seniors with strong emotional bonds often experience better mental and physical health. Before we dive deeper, I'd like to ask a small favor. If you find this information useful, or if it resonates with your own experiences, please consider letting me know in the comments. Type 1 if you feel encouraged by what you hear, or 0 if you disagree or have concerns. Your feedback helps me understand what hits home and what we might need to explore more thoroughly in future conversations. And if you haven't already, feel free to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss any upcoming videos where we delve even deeper into topics that matter to you. Let's embark on this journey together and discover that the forgotten secret to meaningful relationships after 70 might not be so forgotten after all. In fact, once it's revealed, you'll wonder how you ever got by without it. The first step is to challenge the assumption that relationship building after a certain age is too difficult or not worth the effort. It's a misconception that holds too many of us back. But there's a beautiful opportunity here, a chance to redefine connection on our own terms. Let's explore exactly how to seize it. Number 1, I want to share a bold claim. We often believe that our best relationship years are behind us, but the truth is, deeper bonds can form at any stage of life, especially when we're older. That may sound counterintuitive when you consider how many friendships or family ties fade over time. You might be thinking, isn't that just how life goes? But I'd argue that's a misconception. When you think about seniors and relationships, the common myth is that it's natural to be lonely. People accept it. They say, it's just part of aging. Children grow up, friends pass away, and we're left to fend for ourselves. I used to believe that too. Then I met Ruth, an 82-year-old retired teacher who seemed to be surrounded by people who adored her, neighbors, her grandnieces, even the local grocery clerk. It wasn't because she was pushy or overbearing. There was just something about her that drew people in. She told me that the key to her vibrant social circle was understanding that she, as an older adult, had unique gifts to offer in a friendship. She shared stories of the old days, gave thoughtful advice, and genuinely listened when others spoke. There's a richness in living a long life, she'd say. People crave real connection, and our experiences can fill that need if we stop doubting our value. It hit me that I'd been holding back, afraid of being dismissed or judged. My misconception was that younger people saw me as irrelevant. Ruth proved that assumption wrong by actively contributing her wisdom. She understood something most of us don't. The surprising truth is that folks of all ages hunger for someone who truly listens and cares. Seniors with their broad life experience can be that someone, so how do you start? The practical advice here is simple. Volunteer your perspective more often. The next time you speak with a neighbor or a distant relative, share a story that reflects a lesson you've learned. Show genuine interest in their lives. Ask questions that go beyond polite chit-chat, something like, "What's been inspiring you lately?" Or, "What's one challenge you overcame this year?" This breaks the ice in a meaningful way. Think of it as a treasure exchange. You give your hard-earned insights, and in return, you receive someone else's unique viewpoint. In doing this, you'll likely find an unexpected sense of purpose and belonging. Because when you become that wise friend who listens and shares without judgment, you open a door for deeper bonds to flourish. Imagine how it feels to know that younger neighbors, or even your peers, look forward to chatting with you, eager to hear your stories or get your take on a current event. That's the kind of emotional payoff that can breathe new life into every single day, turning routine errands and casual meetings into opportunities for genuine connection. Now, if you've heard something helpful so far and you're still watching, leave a comment below with the number 2 to let me know you're following along. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so we can keep building this community of support and shared wisdom. Let's move on to the second point, which might surprise you. The biggest myth about relationships is that they require a lot of time and energy to become meaningful. But what if the opposite is true? That small, consistent gestures can have the greatest impact. Most of us imagine deep connections come from hours spent talking or going on big adventures together. For seniors, that can feel like a tall order. Many of us battle fatigue, limited mobility, or simply the unpredictability of our daily schedules. So we tell ourselves, "I can't keep up." Maybe deep friendships aren't possible anymore. But let me introduce you to James, 77. He's a widower who lives alone in a humble one-bedroom apartment. Instead of lamenting that he can't travel or spend all day socializing, James makes it a point to perform tiny acts of outreach. Every morning, he sends a one-sentence text message or email to a different friend or family member. Sometimes it's just a simple, "Thinking of you today, hope you're well." Sometimes he shares a quick recipe he tried. Other times he sends a compliment about a photo he saw on social media. Here's what's surprising. These brief messages have created a steady stream of ongoing interactions in his life. He rarely goes a day without hearing back from at least one person, sparking conversation, warm greetings, and invitations to catch up further. James's approach flies in the face of the common misconception that you need grand gestures. The truth is, meaningful relationships often flourish from consistent, small touches of genuine care. If you want to adopt this practice, start by making a list of people you care about. Family, old friends, neighbors, former co-workers. Then commit to sending a single message or making a quick phone call to one person each day. It might feel trivial at first, but over time, these brief moments of connection stack up. They turn into phone calls, then coffee meetups, and sometimes even deeper bonds that transform your sense of community. Emotionally, taking this step can dispel the fear that everyone has forgotten about you. When you proactively reach out, you remind yourself that you have the power to spark a conversation, to be a source of warmth in someone else's day. That can fill you with optimism, even if you only spend 5 minutes sending a message. You'll notice that anticipation replaces dread. Each day becomes an opportunity for a fresh connection. If this resonates with you, leave a comment with the number 4 so I know you're still with me. And if you feel you haven't done enough reaching out, don't worry. It's never too late to begin. Every day is a new chance. Next is our third point. Sometimes the relationships that matter the most are the ones we think we've already lost. Let me explain. A lot of us have distant relatives or old friends who've drifted away. Maybe there was a misunderstanding years ago, or you just fell out of touch. The misconception is that once ties are severed, they can't be repaired. But I've discovered that many relationships can be revived, even after decades of silence. Carol, age 79, shared her story with me over a cup of tea not long ago. She had a son, Brian, who moved across the country and rarely called. Carol assumed he was simply too busy or uninterested in keeping in touch. She felt resentment building up, which only deepened her belief that the bond was irreparably damaged. One day, she stumbled upon an old photo of Brian at his high school graduation. It rekindled in her a longing not just for the past, but for a renewed connection, one that could exist now, as two adults who had each lived their own lives. She decided to write him a heartfelt letter, expressing her regrets about their lost years and her hopes for how they might reconnect. She shared a few memories from his childhood, but didn't dwell on guilt or blame. To her astonishment, Brian called her the day he received the letter, his voice trembling with emotion. He had felt the distance too, but didn't know how to bridge it. They started talking regularly after that. The relationship didn't magically go back to what it was, but they built something new and authentic for the present day. The surprising truth here is that healing old wounds can sometimes unlock the strongest bonds. We often avoid reaching out because we fear rejection or reopening painful memories. Yet confronting the uncomfortable truth head-on can yield a closeness we never imagined possible. If you have a strained or long-lost relationship in your life, consider writing a letter, sending an email, or leaving a voicemail that extends an olive branch. Be honest, but not accusatory. Acknowledge the time that has passed and express genuine interest in moving forward. The emotional benefit of this act can be profound. Not only could you regain a cherished friend or family member, but you'll also find a sense of relief that comes with taking initiative. Even if the response isn't what you hoped for, you'll know you did your part with an open heart. There's a liberating sense of hope that emerges when you realize it's not too late. That, my friend, is an opportunity many seniors overlook because they assume the door is closed. But it rarely is. Sometimes it's just stuck, waiting for someone to give it a gentle push. Our fourth point addresses a different angle, the belief that companionship in later life must be strictly within our own age group. This is a limiting idea that can rob us of amazing connections. I once believed that only other people in their 70s could truly understand what I was going through. Younger folks, I assumed, wouldn't relate to my stories or experiences, and I'd seem old-fashioned or out of touch. But I met Phil, a 68-year-old volunteer at a local elementary school. Twice a week, he helps kindergartners with reading. When I asked him why he chose that age group, he said, "It's simple. Kids are honest, curious, and they don't see my wrinkles as a barrier. They just see me as the friendly guy who reads them stories." Through this intergenerational connection, Phil found a renewed sense of purpose. And interestingly, his new friendships aren't just with the kids. He chats with teachers, other parents, and even young volunteers in their 20s. He discovered something crucial. Bridging the generation gap often opens the door to a world of learning and laughter. We, as seniors, have wisdom and life stories to share, while younger generations bring fresh perspectives and a contagious sense of possibility. The misconception is that younger people don't want to connect with older adults. The surprising truth is that many do, but they might feel unsure about how to start. When you demonstrate genuine warmth and interest, you'll find that age barriers can fade quickly. Try this. Look for opportunities to connect with people of various ages in casual, low-pressure settings. A local library, community center, or volunteer program can be a great place to start. When you're introduced to someone younger, ask about their interests and share yours. Mention a piece of technology you're trying to figure out or a new hobby you'd like to learn. Most younger people are delighted to help, and this can spark wonderful conversations. The emotional payoff is huge. Not only might you gain a friend or two, but you'll also feel a sense of wonder as you see the world through a fresh set of eyes. That sense of curiosity and mutual respect can truly make life after 70 feel more vibrant. If you're still here with me after this fourth point, go ahead and leave a comment with the number 8 to let me know you've reached this part. It's reassuring to know that I'm not just talking into an empty room. And of course, if you find any of these ideas helpful, do subscribe and turn on notifications so we can keep these conversations going. Now on to our fifth and final insight, the one I teased at the start, the actual forgotten secret to meaningful relationships after 70. We often think of relationships as something external, connections between you and someone else. But the real key might surprise you. Before you can nurture a deeper bond with others, you need to rebuild the relationship you have with yourself. This is where hope and opportunity truly flourish. Let me share Margaret's story. She's 75, and for the longest time, she felt invisible in her own family. Her adult children were busy, her grandkids wrapped up in their own worlds. She thought she was doing everything right, sending gifts on birthdays and hosting the occasional Sunday dinner. Yet each gathering left her feeling more and more like a background character. One day, Margaret realized she'd lost sight of her own identity. She couldn't remember the last time she did something just for herself, something that fed her soul and reignited her passions. So she took a painting class. At first, she felt foolish, worrying she was too old to start something new. But she discovered she loved the colors, the brush strokes, and the creative expression. Surprisingly, once she began painting and nurturing that spark inside, her relationships blossomed in tandem. Her children noticed the positive change in her mood, her new sense of excitement. They became more curious about her day-to-day life. Friends from church started asking to see her paintings. She radiated a certain confidence that drew people in like a magnet. The truth is, when you pour love, attention, and care into your own well-being, your own sense of purpose, you emanate an energy that naturally enhances your external relationships. It's the opposite of being selfish. In fact, it's about replenishing the well so you have more to give others. The real secret is recognizing that what happens in your heart and mind profoundly influences the bonds you share with those around you. So here's the practical step. Identify an activity, a hobby, or a project that lights a spark in you, something you might have set aside. Dedicate just a little time each week to pursuing it wholeheartedly. This self-nurturing practice creates a ripple effect of positivity in all your interactions. You become more patient, more interesting to talk to, and more receptive to others. Qualities that foster rich, meaningful relationships. When you think about it, everything starts from within. If you treat yourself kindly, acknowledge your own worth, and cultivate a sense of personal fulfillment, you'll attract people who appreciate and respect that. It's like strengthening the trunk of a tree. Once it's strong, the branches, your relationships, can thrive and grow in ways you never thought possible. Before we wrap up, I want to remind you, each point we've covered is a stepping stone toward deeper, more meaningful connections. You have more influence over your relationships than you might realize. Regardless of your past experiences, you can shape the quality of the bonds you have moving forward. There's genuine hope in that realization. Take a moment to reflect on these 5 insights, how they interconnect, and the transformation they promise. First, embrace the fact that your best relationship years can be right now. Then remember, it's often small, consistent gestures that foster deep connections. Don't be afraid to extend an olive branch to those you've lost touch with. Open yourself up to different generations. And finally, remember that caring for yourself is the cornerstone of building meaningful bonds. None of these ideas require extraordinary effort or drastic life changes. Each point is completely doable, no matter your mobility, financial situation, or family circumstances. That's what makes them so powerful. They're accessible, and they're rooted in the simple truth that we're designed for connection at every stage of life. Now let's look ahead. Picture yourself 6 months from now, having reached out to at least one person per day with a friendly message, possibly rekindled a relationship you once thought was lost, maybe even discovered a creative hobby or volunteer opportunity that fuels your spirit. Imagine the sense of warmth and belonging that awaits you. It's not a fantasy, it's within your grasp. But it does require a little courage and a willingness to try something new. I encourage you to think about which one of these 5 points resonates most deeply with you. Perhaps it's the idea of making small, consistent gestures. Maybe it's daring to reconnect with an old friend. Or possibly it's finally giving yourself permission to explore a passion you've been too timid to pursue. Whatever it is, take one small step this week that aligns with that point. Share in the comments what you plan to do or how you envision putting these ideas into action. When you speak it out loud, or in this case, type it out, you take a bigger step toward making it real. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below with even just a sentence about something you learned today or a step you intend to take. Reading your insights and experiences lights up my day and reminds all of us that we're not alone in this journey. If you found value here, please like the video, subscribe, and share it with someone who might benefit from hearing these words. You never know who could use a gentle nudge toward rediscovering the beauty of meaningful relationships, even and especially after 70. Thank you for spending this time with me. I appreciate your open heart and your readiness to discover new possibilities. Remember, the power to change your life, to forge deeper connections, and to feel truly seen lies right in your hands. And it all begins when you decide to nurture that bond within yourself first. I look forward to hearing your stories and seeing how these insights help you create a life rich with connection, warmth, and the joy of belonging. This moment right now could be the turning point. It can be that pivotal instant when you choose to open a new chapter in your relationships, both with yourself and with the people who matter. So take that step in whatever form feels right for you and embrace the limitless opportunity that awaits. You've made it this far, and I'm confident you have the strength and wisdom to continue. Here's to rediscovering that forgotten secret of meaningful relationships and to the remarkable life that can unfold when we do. I'll see you again soon.